One of the most infamous of Batman v Superman is the climax of the battle between the two titular heroes, where Batman, with his foot on Superman's throat and a kryptonite spear in his hand, is seemingly convinced to spare Superman because their mothers have the same name. This is a gross oversimplification of an actually profound scene that makes far more sense and digs deeper into the psyche of Batman and even Superman than most viewers are probably giving it credit for. Throughout the entire film, Batman is portrayed as a broken man. A man who has spent decades of his life preparing to be Batman, preparing to save his city, then spending the preceding 20 years trying to save it, only for the world to basically break him. He's jaded, he's old, most of his friends and allies are gone, some dead, some have abandoned him, and ultimately he's reached a point in his life where he's so old that he thinks that none of it was worth it. At this point, we have the appearance of Superman, the singular target for every single action Batman does throughout the entire film. And up until this point, up until the point where Batman is in the position that he's wanted Superman in for 2 years, ever since he witnessed the destruction of Metropolis, Batman finally recognizes Superman as a man. In the preceding conversations that he has that lead up to this final battle between the two of them, Batman verbally constantly admits that Superman is not a man. He is not a god, he is not a man, and he dehumanizes Superman more akin to an animal. This is shown to us in the conversation that he has with Alfred in the destroyed Wayne Manor, where Bruce compares himself to the original Waynes. These guys weren't philanthropists, they weren't filthy rich merchants, they weren't these upper-class white people, they were hunters. They were colonial hunters in the early days of colonial America who pretty much hunted down bears, wolves, and any other dangerous animal that would have been a threat to the colonial society, and they skinned them alive to make a living. Bruce directly compares himself to the Waynes, and he compares Superman to the prey that the Waynes would have caught. This shows us just how much Batman does not consider Superman as a person. He considers Superman an animal, an all-powerful animal that, left unchecked, could destroy the entire world. Throughout Batman's other verbal interactions, we also see just how broken he is. During his conversation with Alfred, where Batman reveals that he is targeting the white Portuguese not to save Gotham, but to get a weapon that can help him kill Superman, Batman verbally explains to Alfred that he has reached a point in his life where he simply cannot believe the fact that anybody can actually stay good. As he tells Alfred himself, 20 years in Gotham, how many good guys are left? How many have stayed that way? But it isn't until the moment where Batman is seemingly about to kill Superman that Batman himself realizes that he is one of the good people who have been broken down by the world. How the world's jadedness, their cynicism, the bleakness, and the darkness has all bled into Batman, and how it has completely warped him into turning him into basically a perversion of himself. Batman even dehumanizes the other criminals that he fights throughout the entire film. He compares them to weeds. Not people, but weeds that have to be pulled out to basically keep the garden safe. But as Batman also explains in the same exchange, weeds are always going to come back. You can't get rid of them. He's basically spent 20 years being a gardener for a garden that's overrun with weeds, and nothing he's done has made any kind of lasting impact. Gotham is such a fucking shithole that when Clark Kent tries to do some editorial pieces on it, Perry White immediately shoots him down, because Gotham being a worthless shithole is the norm. Nothing Batman has done has changed that, and that feeds into Batman's feeling of helplessness, and how him trying to kill Superman might be the only thing that's worthwhile that he will ever do. Because while there might be hundreds of thousands of millions of people who might turn into criminals, there is only one Superman left. There is only one Kryptonian left, and Batman feels like he is the guy responsible for taking this man down. Batman even shows physically apparent delight in Superman's suffering, such as when he activates the sound turrets during their fight. And all these things, all these conversations, and the way Batman operates in the film, how he started to brand people, how he started to kill people, how he pretty much doesn't view the people he's fighting as people anymore, but animals in terms of Superman, or weeds that are just, little nuisances in his garden when in regards to regular criminals, really does show you just how far Batman has fallen. And the scene where he has Superman you know, down, pretty much down, finished, ready to kill him, Superman tells him, save Martha. Batman initially doesn't understand what Superman means by this. He even starts screaming at the guy as he gets flashbacks to the deaths of his parents. He demands to know what this guy means. And it isn't until Lois Lane shows up and tells Batman that Martha is Superman's mother that Batman realizes what he's become. He's not saving Superman's life and becoming his friend because their mothers have the same name. He is sparing Superman because for the first time ever since Superman has shown up, Batman recognizes him as a person. He recognizes him not as an all-powerful god, not as some animal that needs to be hunted down and destroyed, but as a good, selfless person. Because it takes a truly good, selfless, legitimately righteous person to beg the man who is about to murder you not to spare you, not to gloat like some god like Batman probably expected he would, but to save his mother. This is this single act of kindness and selflessness that shows Batman who Superman really is. A good, selfless person who, despite having the power to destroy the entire world, isn't going to do that because he ultimately believes in the right thing. And it's in this moment that Batman realizes that he has become just as bad as Joe Chill, the man who pretty much attacked the Waynes as they were taking their little boy, their little 10-year-old son to the movie theater, and gunned down his parents right in front of him. And though the film doesn't really tell us what the Waynes were like in this universe, if it is keeping consistent with the Waynes' portrayals in many other versions, it is fair to assume that the Waynes were good, philanthropic people who wanted to help Gotham City. And this man, this sort of symbol of the disease of Gotham's rampant crime rate, gunned them down right in front of their son in cold blood. He's not out for money, he's not out for anything, he just guns them down and then leaves, never to be seen again, or at least we can assume. And it's by drawing these parallels between the climax of the Batman and Superman fight and the Wayne murders that we truly see how Batman realizes just how fucked up of a person he's become. He's been able to rationalize everything that he's done in this film, the killing of the ordinary criminals, the killing of Superman, as a means of venting out his frustrations at his own wasted life for a higher purpose, because he thinks that if he can stop Superman, he will be doing a world a truly good service, that he will leave his mark on history, and that he will finally do something worthwhile. But when Batman realizes that he's about to murder a genuinely good, innocent man for the first time in the film, at least is how he rationalizes it, Batman takes a step back, realizes that he was wrong, and he vows to Superman that he's going to save his mother. And this is further reinforced later on in the film with the "men are still good" speech. In that speech, Batman is pretty much openly recognizing his own flaws and the mistakes that he's made. He tells Diana that while men are capable of betraying one another, we're capable of killing one another, which is something that Ben Affleck especially emphasizes in that part of the speech. We are still capable of genuine good to one another if we try, and we have to be. This is Batman verbally, indirectly recognizing his own failures throughout this film and throughout the years after Robin's death, which have seemingly cemented him as this jaded, hopeless person, as the beginning of a new arc for Batman. This is going to show us a Batman who has recognized his own mistakes and is going to move forward with his life with a renewed sense of purpose, with a renewed belief that people can still be good. Because if an alien from another world can spend 2 years of his life being scrutinized, micromanaged, placed into this big master scheme of a little psychopath shithead like Lex Luthor, and still sacrifice himself for all the people who've hated him, who've criticized him, who've used him as a scapegoat for all the terrible things in the world, who have tried to destroy him. If a man like that, a man who's not even actually human, can still remain good throughout all of these experiences, and he can still sacrifice himself for the good of all people, regardless if they like or dislike him, then we ordinary humans, we mere mortals, should be able to do that as well, and they will. This sets up an interesting character arc for Batman moving forward, and a potentially interesting relationship with the Joker. Because, as we always see, the whole dynamic between Batman and Joker is will Batman kill Joker or won't he? But now it's going to be more of a situation where Batman, who has openly killed people and has tried to kill other people, such as I've already said Superman, how is he going to be able to rationalize his decision to hold back against killing the Joker? How is he going to be able to keep himself from crossing the line again if he was already able to cross it so many times in this film? This creates a fascinating potential relationship between him and the Joker, and I am very, very interested to see where they're going to take this character moving forward. I easily think that this is one of the most human, one of the most flawed, and simultaneously one of the most psychotic versions of the character I've ever seen, and I think it really, really works. This isn't the omnipresent Bat God. This isn't the animated series version where he's blatantly an asshole to everybody he meets for no good reason, but this is a man whose flaws are properly explained, that properly make sense, and are used as a jumping off point for potentially interesting developments that we've never seen before for this character in general, let alone one from the live action films. And that's why I think that the Martha scene is easily one of the most unfairly criticized scenes throughout the entire film. The film itself does a fantastic job of explaining where Batman is coming from, where his rationalization is coming from, and showing how just one act of genuine kindness in this bleak, cynical world that we live in, that's even more enhanced in this film, can just change a person as jaded and broken and as mind-numbingly fucked up as the Bat.